Hi, my name is Seth.
And I'm Youjin.
She's a German costume designer. I'm an American opera singer. We live in Berlin.
And we're having a baby during a pandemic.
Stick around for Seth Learn Dad.
So a lot of our friends are leaving town because they're able to get back to the States to be with their families. So people are giving us gifts, and because of all of this pandemic stuff, we're not going to be able to have a proper baby shower. So a lot of people are giving us gifts now. So our friends Noel and Davia are leaving this weekend to go back to America, to Texas and California. So today they're giving us their gift. We're a little scared. We don't know what it is. They said bring the car. You're going to need it. So I don't know. I'm hoping for a pony. That's my. But we'll see in a minute. Okay. Oh god. Oh my god. What did you do? What is it? Oh my god! Oh my god, look at this. It's a trailer for the bike.
No! Oh my goodness.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh wow. This is like.
It's from Boulez and Tom.
Oh, thank you, Boulez and Tom. Yeah. Thank you so much for the present.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It was a great idea that you planted for us in our brains when we were out on that walk.
See, I don't remember planning it on purpose. Were you just clever, or oh?
Noel was clever. I just hopped on with his clever idea.
But you look so nice, and I look so shitty. It okay? Oh man, I can't believe I'm actually about to make an unboxing video. What have I become? Let's do it.
Wow, what a weird time to have a kid. Holy crap.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, the good thing is that we had a 4-month unexpected time to spend with each other with no responsibility before he comes, to just sit and just be together alone before everything changes.
Let me tell you, you're going to be grateful for that.
Oh yeah. We already are. It's really nice. We are loving every minute of it, or as many as we can. So today I'm talking to Luretta Bybee and Greer Grimsley. What an incredible honor. A royal family of our business. And it's truly humbling to be talking to you guys. And let's just go right from the beginning. Where are you guys from?
Well, I'm from New Orleans, which is where we are right now. We moved back about 6 years ago. And Luretta?
I'm from West Texas.
Yeah,
And
West Texas.
Yeah, Midland, Texas, Midland, Odessa. Yep, and we came back here so I could take over for a friend who had died at Loyola, where Greer went to school and where Emma went to school also.
That's great. Well, where did you guys meet, and at what point in your
journeys.
Oh God,
Well,
the
that's
sordid
sad.
details.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had, we met in 1985. We were both hired to do Carmen for the now defunct Texas Opera Theater. I was singing my first Escamillo, and she was singing her first Carmen.
Yeah.
And that's where we met.
Oh, that's
It was in-
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had-
Francesca Zambello had just left assistant directing, and it was her first show.
It was the first show. Yeah.
So,
Wow. Cool.
so you can
I-
imagine a career of 35, 40 years. There's been lots of opera.
Yeah.
I'm sure there has, yeah. How many kids do you have?
We have one.
Is one enough?
One is enough. It's interesting. That's an interesting subject because before I had her, I had 2 miscarriages early on. And so young singers who say, well, I'm going to wait, you waited till you were 33 and I'm going to wait that long too. And I said, I wasn't really waiting. I started earlier. Don't assume that everything's going to go naturally, swimmingly, especially early on. So we had one. And then once we had her, people kept telling me you're nuts, but I could not imagine loving another kid as much as I loved her. And now I've learned, of course, you can.
My mother also had 2 miscarriages before my oldest brother, and then she had 3 boys. So this is a subject that I don't think enough people are talking about, and especially considering how common it is. So
yeah, now you find out so quickly.
Yeah.
You find out so,
Yeah.
at 6 weeks, I already knew, and I'd lost one. That one was really, really quick. So wouldn't have even probably known.
yeah.
And of course the whole shebang happened on stage at Washington National Opera, which was another whole story in itself. So they didn't know what to do with me, and Agma didn't know what to do, how to help me, and it wasn't like I'd broken my leg or something. You move on. So yeah.
Oh man, what an ordeal.
Crazy.
Wow. Well, what is Emma doing now?
She right this minute, she's probably writing, knowing her. She and her boyfriend live in Manhattan.
Yeah.
But they're both writers, and he's a screenwriter, and they've just been writing. They've got a lot of content, and when things lift, they're going to be ready.
Yeah.
So she's focusing more on writing than performing at this point?
No, she's a performer first and foremost.
Okay.
Really kind of a phenomenal writer. She has a play and a sitcom written, and she's.
Oh my God.
I don't know what. I think I should take credit, don't you?
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, good answer. Good answer.
I was just going to shamelessly plug one of her projects that you can actually watch if you haven't
Please.
seen it, and it's called 40 Minutes.
The musical.
The musical, and it's on YouTube.
Okay.
If you find it, and I think there's a Instagram group that's
they
put together that
they tapped their tour buddies, a bunch of Broadway singers, and she and her what do you call it? Alternate.
Yeah.
Kate, they wrote this musical. They wrote 8 songs really
Okay.
in the time of a Zoom call.
Cool.
So it's about the shut-in, the COVID.
You said it's called 40 Minutes?
40
Yeah.
minutes, the musical, yeah.
Yeah.
When you were coming up, you said around 33 years old, in that range. So you were obviously trying because you had 2 other pregnancies.
Yeah.
But what was there anything about this time in your life that made you feel really drawn to have a child? Did you feel that it was the right time, or was it just? Is there any pragmatic reason for that, or because for other singers thinking about when to do it?
Yeah, that's probably the best question. I had gotten to a point where I'd kind of worked out all my own stuff about parenting and my childhood, and I got to the point where I said, I think I'm able to do more good than harm, and my heart is our hearts are in the right place, and we consider ourselves somewhat intelligent, and so we figured smart people have to be having kids too. And career-wise, I knew that I could, the trap is that you can wait forever, you can just wait and wait and wait. And I just got to the point where I said, look, there's no perfect time in this kind of life. There is no perfect time. And I had turned down a couple of things, but I mean, I sang up till 7 months and then got back 4 months after. And someone said to me, it was Rosalia said to me, sweetie, your Carmen reviews are not going to come check on you when you're old.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just perspective, and man, oh man, just wait, because we spend so much time as singers, so self-centered.
Yeah.
So worrying about our health and worrying about this production and why did I not get that job? Why did someone else get it? And you suddenly see life in so much better light. You realize that it's not the be all end all.
Yeah.
And it's sweet. That's a sweet thing.
What ways and how much did you end up relying on friends and family? I mean, because I know you both had different schedules and you couldn't always be in the same place at the same time. And this is going to be a big issue for us. Youjin is a costume designer. So she doesn't travel quite as much as I do, but still we're already looking at next season thinking, okay, well, when you're working, I come here. And then when I'm working, you go there. And how much did you rely on other people to help you through that process?
It was about the same time that Clinton was in office. Or was he in office? Yeah, he was. And that Hillary made that statement about it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
And I remember when I heard that, I was like, yes, that is so true. We had help, like right off the bat when she was 11 days old. She was born with what they were afraid were some health issues, which ended up being nothing, but they had to be attended to. He was late for his job in Basel. People were he was with a set of agents who were saying, you're going to ruin your career if you don't go right now. And he said, no, my kid has a potential heart murmur. I'm staying here. And when we found out everything was okay, he went. And then 11 days later, I thought, oh, well, I'll stay here with the baby by myself. And I mean, I didn't have work, but I was in Manhattan and I just didn't want to. So on day 9, after she was born, Diane Zola and I packed her up and took her to Rockefeller Center to get her passport picture and an expedited passport. And it took us, oh my gosh, the things Zola and I did to get her eyes to open, because they wouldn't use a picture of her. And she was so young, they sleep all the time. So yeah, so it started there. My parents helped us a lot. My parents, if it was somewhere that they could drive from Texas, they loved her. She was the first grandkid. And so they were fabulous and helped us a great deal. And, it's funny. I was thinking last night about that question that you asked, this one. And when you're on the road, when you're in Europe, when you're in other places, if your kid is interesting, people it's that, but it's also people are so willing to help. Everybody wants to babysit. Everybody, if they can help, and they have, like when we were in Basel, Stephanie was saying, but look, if you have trouble, I have a friend who can help. And we always had babysitters lined up, and also actually singers, especially women who are thinking, I'd like to be a mom. They always wanted to keep her.
They wanted to practice.
So they wanted to practice, and we needed to practice. So we would take advantage of that. And I think part of that was because we weren't so rigid about how she had to, lots of parents get very, and you may choose this, but get very sort of 7 o'clock is the bedtime, and this has to happen then, and this has to happen then. And we just thought there's no way we can do that.
Yeah.
So we took her with us often to, even to people's houses for dinner. And if she got sleepy, she fell asleep, and we carried her home, and she didn't want to miss anything too, So you will rely on other people.
I think as far as the schedule thing is concerned too, is that I think we learned to listen or to follow Emma's lead a lot of the
Probably
time.
a little too much.
Well, yeah, but also that every kid is different.
Yes.
And that, there's not this formula, and that was the one thing as a parent that I saw that we cued in on with Emma, was that we saw how that she was a curious kid, that she was a self-starter when it came to projects and things like that. So that's that's an important thing too, as you
reading the kid.
As you're heading out, is to see that. And I was particularly sensitive to that because I grew up in a family that I had no sort of idea about classical music, but I was always interested in things along the way, like playing a trumpet. I taught myself how to play the trumpet. But before that, I was building these wind instruments out of hoses, and figuring out where to put holes where I could change pitch. And
Zappa
my parents,
of you.
yeah, and my parents saw that and they said, "Oh, look, he's doing something cool with this piece of hose." Never thought, "Oh, maybe we should sort of encourage that."
Yeah.
And so that's where it came from me, is that I wanted Emma to find her passion and follow, how she naturally learned.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. My next contract starts 3 weeks after our due date, and I'm terrified. Greer, how do you do it? How do you leave?
It's very hard.
He might cry if you ask him.
I cry every time I think about it, so it's okay.
It is.
Well, Seth, you're in a wonderful position where you are.
Yes.
Because
it'll be easier
for us. We established our career over here, and every job counted. And if you didn't show up, you didn't get paid, or there wasn't any kind of maternity leave, or paternal leave. And so, it was always this dual cut of, I need to go out, and while Emma was very connected to Luretta, there had to be some sort of income to come in.
Yeah.
And that was always the hard part, was leaving my family and my
and
kids,
also
and my wife.
Getting your shit together. And he had to come to Jesus, because I was doing the brunt of the work, and he was just sort of frustrated.
I couldn't get arrested at the time.
Yeah, his voice was too big. Everybody said, "Oh, wow, that's really loud, but what do we do with that?" And so when she was born, I watched him just go, "Oh my God, I have to do something."
It all zeroed in.
Yeah. Better practice.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
And it was time, and it was time. And the thing for me is that I found that I grew up quite a bit. In that time where I figured that out. But it's never easy. And I'm not going to say what houses that I would fly home from, but when she was older, she, I wouldn't ask for a release, but I would sneak home. And
like far away sometimes.
Yeah.
I won't tell anyone except the internet. Let me ask you, what does it feel like when your child suddenly expresses interest in being a performer or doing what you do?
Well, it wasn't sudden.
No, sure.
It was a long time coming. She was fascinated by our process, and this is actually a mistake I made, I think, that she wanted to go to rehearsal so badly. And I just would explain to her, listen, you can go, but you know what the rules are. The rules are that you have to behave. And so at a very young age, 4 or 5, even younger, 3, 4, 5, 6, she would sit quietly, read the room, and she always tried to behave well enough that she could be named honorary stage management. So she would run, if someone wanted a cookie, she would run, get them cookies. And it was her big favorite job to roll the tape up at the end of a production, you know, untape the floors. And when we left Michigan, I opened her closet and this huge pile of balls of rehearsal tape fell out. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. But as she's gotten older and had to do her own emotional work, that put a great deal of pressure on her that I was unaware of as a little kid. She knew that she couldn't be a kid. She had to be a grown-up. So that was a hard thing. But it was from the beginning. She was really ready to she wanted to try everything. She's at 2 years old, she was singing along with, I mean, it was just, she was kind of born for it. So the question is, do you encourage them or do you, because it's such a hard life.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, where I came to it was that she grew up with us in doing what we do, and she, of all decisions, she would be best informed with that one.
Yeah.
To know what kind of life it was and what she was going to be facing. Yeah. And if that's what, and I mean, we all know that it's not an easy life. And, but if you feel called to do it and it's your passion, it's something you have to follow.
And she had this massive family within the business. You know, she has all people that we've worked with all over the world. Yeah. You know, you could count on them and get advice from them. And it was, and she realized that she had a leg up there, but she was fiercely independent, did not want our help. Mm-hmm. She said, Mom, it's a very lonely being the child of 2 opera singers, because when I go into a group of my peers, they're saying things like, oh my gosh, did you hear about this general director? He's blah, blah, blah. And they're sort of kibitzing about him. And she's saying, yeah, he was at my birthday party. You know,
oh my God.
Yeah, it's really hard for her.
Oh so no, poor thing.
Quiet, yeah.
What kind of tricks do you have for somebody? I know this is kind of a basic question, but what kind of tricks do you have for somebody to help maintain normalcy with a child growing up with parents like us?
My mom said to her early on, now you listen here, you're going to be traveling a lot. You need to go everywhere you go, you find your little room and you build your nest. So that was a big tradition for her to set up her, she'd sometimes, you know, tape things on the wall and everything had to be just so. And it did give her, you know, some sense of, I mean, we had our normal way that we did it, that we traveled, especially the ritual around the traveling. That was a big deal.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
When we would find schools where she would go, preschool and these private schools, we would go in and ask them how would they feel about us taking her lessons with us. And they were thrilled that she would get to, the schools that we found, they were thrilled that she would get the chance to see these places that we were going to go.
You've gone more into the academic field, Luretta? Is that's a good way to put it, or?
Yeah, a teacher of mine died sort of suddenly, and it got me really thinking about how generous people had been to me in my career. Just crazy, you know, listen, I know you don't have a lot of money, come twice a week and you just pay me once, and, you know, things like that people don't really talk about. Mm-hmm. And I thought, this is the perfect time for me to, I wasn't sure I could teach, but I thought someone approached me about it. And I thought, this is the perfect time to see if I can combine feeling like I'm paying it forward a little bit and letting her experience what it's like to be home more.
Well, I mean, that's the bulk of the interview, but I do have a questionnaire that I'm asking everybody the same questions. Do you guys have some time for that?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's do it. Question 1 is this is a long time ago to remember, I know, but what is the best piece of advice that anyone gave you, and or the worst piece of advice that anyone gave you regarding parenting? I'll take either one or both.
Well, we don't have a worst, but we have, we thought about it last night. We have 3 bests.
Oh, great.
I'll give you as a second runner-up, first runner-up, and then the thing.
Perfect.
Second runner-up was from a singer and his wife who had a little boy. They're no longer together, but I said, how do you raise such a great kid? And he said, simple. You just love him and you listen to him. That paid off many times.
Oh yeah.
First runner-up was a makeup artist named Hazel, a wig maker named Hazel at Scottish Opera said, let the dust lie thick when they're young.
Yeah.
And that was really powerful to me because I felt like, you know, when you're a singer, you're like in control of everything. And where's this is getting messy and that came up often.
Okay.
But the best was, you want to tell them about the guy in Burger King?
I'm trying to remember the exact words that he used, but it was basically we had taken Emma for her a Happy Meal in McDonald's.
Whatever, it was Burger King, yeah.
Burger King or whatever, and it was a
Oh God.
terribly hectic day. And
She was crawling all over the booth and you know.
And then, but it was, you know, extraneous things that were sort of adding stress to us. And we sat down and this wonderful old man, he sort of looked over at us.
He sat right by me.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the next booth.
And
I was like, what? Who is this guy? Why is he just sitting there? It's weird. I was crabby, you know?
Yeah. And he said,
he said, kids, well, I tell you what, they're a handful, aren't they? And I was like, yeah, this really bad. You know, I didn't want to talk to any strangers right then.
Thanks a lot.
The Sprite had just knocked over or whatever.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, I raised me 3 of them. And I realized early on that if I just treat them as if I had no problems of my own, they'd be okay. And I went, yeah. And I still wasn't, I hadn't registered. And then I stopped for a second and I thought, what the hell? That is so important. And I turned around to thank the guy and he was gone.
He was gone.
And we swear he was an angel. I promise you.
Yeah.
This old black man drinking a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
It was like, we both, yeah.
I even walked outside and went,
Where did that guy go?
Where did he go?
You will find that if you think back on your own childhood, your own watching other people parent, the times when parents really screw up are when they've got something of their own happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that to clear the slate before you react when they do something crazy is the best, I think.
Yeah.
That couldn't always do it, but we tried.
Yeah. And I think it's important to have your kid hear I'm sorry from their parent.
Yeah.
That's a big one for me, for sure. Definitely. Yeah.
That's a big one for him too.
Yeah.
Really big. Yeah.
What is this is question 3? Oh, no, 2. I didn't do 2 yet. Oh my goodness. What did no one tell you that you wish that they had?
I think it's not that it's a big secret, but I would be truthful. Is that just after your kid's born, that it does take it, you know, kids adjusting to being outside of the womb and you know the digestion setting up, and it's, you know, it's hard
At the beginning.
in the beginning. I mean, it is hard. The first 3 months. After the first 3 months, then it's
For us, it was that way because she was colicky,
yeah.
you know. Yeah.
But it is, you know, no one talked about that. It's always, oh, you have this beautiful baby, and then you sort of move forward.
I mean, he really did say, I remember them wheeling me out. I had her in my arms. He pulled the car up, and I had this feeling of, what now? What now? I'm going to take this little tiny thing home. And off we went in our Mitsubishi Montero on the Major Deegan, and they said, "Please be careful, don't jostle her much." And you know that
it has a suspension of a buckboard.
Yeah, it was awful.
You know?
You know, the other thing I would say is that if you do happen to have an adult morph like we did, someone who was really quick and who wanted to be involved, my problem was not remembering that she was still a kid, even though she behaved, you know, at 3 and 4, she could have conversations about jet lag and what it meant, you know, just crazy. And it was
Yeah.
novel, and everybody around us just sort of marveled at her. And so I sort of marveled at her, but I think she needed more. I mean, look, we played like crazy, but
Well, I think, yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
It's once again, it's sort of just trying to tune in, not in a hovering way, but
Yeah.
just to follow your child's lead. And there was a point when we were living in Pennsylvania in our first house there, that we had her, she'd made friends, and her friends were doing ballet, they were doing gymnastics, they were swimming, and there was this constant schedule that was happening.
Well, she was
for
doing all
her.
that too.
And then I started to see some ambivalence from her. And I said to Luretta, I said, I think we just need to let her be a kid. Just
Yeah.
let her, sit in the backyard or
Play in the mud.
play in the mud,
Yeah.
or, and find some time for her to dream.
It's so much
And-
harder now for you guys because there's so much going on.
And society nowadays, it's about keeping your kids busy. This is where, and
safe.
and
Yeah.
safe, right? And there's this fear of someone that will abduct your child. And
Yeah.
I think what's lost is the time for kids to sit still and dream and create and find things on their own.
Yeah.
And become and realize that they can handle things on their own as they move through life.
When she, I can't remember, I'll think of it. There was another one that I thought, she came to me and she said, I'm bored. I remember going to my mom constantly, Mom, I'm bored, and hearing all these kids say they're bored. And I said to her, I don't think smart people get bored. She's like, oh. And I'm telling you, never, ever, since that day did she, so.
Yeah.
Oh, that was brilliant. Oh,
Yeah.
well done. Well done.
We're waiting for the tell-all book that will.
Oh, there'll be one,
Yeah.
yeah.
I had charge of Emma in Copenhagen when she was, I can't remember, 5 or so. And Luretta had to leave early because she had a job. And so once I had finished my gig in Copenhagen, we get to the airport, and of course, I mean, I guess the lady who was checking us in saw that it was a bit of a struggle in getting everything, checked in. And she said, you've been bumped up to business class. And I said, oh, that's great. And I turned to Emma and I said, hey, guess what? We're going to be in business class. And so we get to the airplane and we sit down, and she's looking around. Before it was all coach traveling with her. She looks around. The stewardess comes by and says, what would you like to drink? And I said, 2 orange juices, please. And she brings orange juice in real glass, not the plastic, right? And then I'm starting to sip, and Emma says, with her legs crossed, sticking straight out on the seat because they weren't long enough to bend. And she says, Dad, now this is the way to travel.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So question number 3 is, what is the one toy or piece of equipment, distraction, whatever you had, that you absolutely couldn't have survived without, if you can remember, to get her under control, to keep her calm, whatever?
Well, she had what we called Bunny and Sucker, which was her pacifier, and this little bunny that a friend had given us. And she had that until she was about 3 or 4, and it was really a comfort to her. And we were on a plane once, and we had rescued her from a Paris train station, from the Dizengoff shopping center in Israel, from off the balcony of 4 floors in Basel. I mean, this, you had to go back to a hotel. We had to have that bunny. And on that plane flight, it must have gotten folded up in a newspaper and didn't make it with us. And it was traumatic. But my mother stepped up and provided her with a cat, a furry cat, which she called Tiki.
Question 4 is, what did your parents do when you were kids that you swore you would never do, but you ended up doing anyway as parents?
Honestly, using, not knowing it, I have to say, but using subtle sort of guilt with her. you know?
Yeah.
Well, you're really lucky because when I was little, my mom, I couldn't blah, 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 and it was this until when she was about 20. And I do it very subtly, but I mean, I think it wears on, guilt is crap. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And there was one point when Emma was in college and we were in Boston and I made some comment like that and she goes, Mom, I'm sick and tired of trying to make you feel like a good mother. Okay, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's because I said so, to any, and if in the midst of trying to get some forward momentum to either travel or to get something done, and there's this constant, why I don't want to do this, why do I have to do this? It's and then the minute I said that, because I said so, I'm your dad, I went, oh my God. I don't think I ever used it again. I said, I sound just like my dad.
And then there's one little tiny story that I want to tell you about when she was little. We were sitting at a diner in Baltimore, and she loved to pile up creamers and sugar packets. She was building things always, and one fell down, and she had a bad list. She goes, shit. She swore, and I said, sweetheart, stupid people swear. You don't need to swear. And she goes, wow, Daddy must be really dumb. Like nailed.
Oh man, that's perfect.
Although the first F-bomb came from my mom.
Yeah.
Okay.
My mom. Yeah.
Yeah, his immigrant mom. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Last question, number 5. I have never done this before, and I'm about to have to do it a lot. So give me your technique, your tricks, your secrets for changing a diaper.
It's one thing at a time, because as a parent, you're thinking, oh God, I got to do this, got to do that, do this. There's so many things that you have on your mind. But when it comes to the kids' safety, I always would slow down just enough and say, it's one thing at a time. This is what I'm concentrating on, and make sure that, because I was surprised how fast and how strong Emma was.
They'll roll quick.
Or they'll push with their feet. So it's always nice to just to be aware of how agile.
But they're like rubber. She got dropped, and they just sort of. They're okay.
Yeah, that's what I keep saying. It's like idiots do this all the time. They must be built tough.
That's what I think. That's how I was able to go home that day. Really incapable people seemingly do this all the time.
Yeah.
That's what I said about the birth when it got rough. Just remind her if it's not completely smooth sailing,
Sure.
It just, other people have done it. You can do it. You got no choice.
Yeah.
You're in it now. You're in it. It will come that day where one of you will come out of the room after a nap, holding the baby like this and going, run a bath, because they're covered in shit. They've just decided that, they've decided to get creative.
It's not, I think expecting that it will happen takes the sting out of it.
And the spit up is nothing.
Yeah.
It's just look, you'll do it. You'll be fine, Seth.
Seth, it's, I mean, when you have your kid, there will be nothing that you won't do for your kid.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
It's just like you watch TV in black and white, and that kid is born and everything turns into like Disney Technicolor. It's just your whole life is different I mean, it feels normal in a way, but there's something added to it that's indescribable.
Yeah.
You're going to be great. You'll be the guy who, when you're an old geezer and someone's interviewing you like this, you'll go, I was the vomit champion.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you wanted to say that we didn't touch on that you feel passionately about?
When your kid's best interest is really what's important, things just work out. They just work out. You make mistakes. Look, I'm the poster child for that, but it's going to be a great ride. It'll be a great ride. You'll be scared a lot.
I remember right after, well, with Emma being born, I had figured I had it all taken care of. As long as Emma was inside of Luretta, it was like all controllable, right? And we get to the delivery, and so Emma's born, and the nurses take Emma to a separate part of the room, and Loretta's on the table, and
Chair.
chair, and it was instantaneous of the feeling for the rest of your life where you go, oh, my wife, oh, my daughter, you know, and then so it was fine once they were all in one place inside the body. But, oh no.
Yeah. So there he is, literally with his hair, his ponytail in that little hat and his little scrubs on and those slipper things over his cowboy boots. And he's going,
instantly, I think, you know, anyone who's aware, you turn into it's a Jerry Lewis moment for anyone, you know, it's like, oh baby, oh lady, oh baby, oh lady. The thing that I told Luretta afterwards was that it was a transcendental experience somewhat as Emma was being born, because it was as if I was let in on the biggest secret in the universe, which was that whatever force moves the universe is female. Mm-hmm. because there is no way a man could do that.
Confinement song number 1, dedicated to all the parents out there. Day 1, this is fun. There is cooking to be done. There is food for everyone, but it's still just day 1. I like this. Together, we are all in this together. Working all the time is over. This is everything and better. So why do you push me away? Why are you ignoring me? Why to play?